Welcome to Prime Life. We call it Retirement 2.0. Leave each episode with tips and new ideas to help you navigate retirement in our new age. It's your time. Make it count.
This podcast is for educational purposes only. It is not intended as medical, investment, or financial advice. We do not sponsor or endorse any of the individuals, companies, products, or services featured on this podcast. Any statements or opinions expressed are of the individual who makes them. We hope you enjoy the episode.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Prime Life podcast. I'm excited to be here today with Mary and Joseph. Joseph, how are you doing?
I'm great and honored to be having today's conversation.
Fantastic. And Mary, how about yourself?
I am wonderful, and I'm super excited about today's guest for a lot of reasons. He's amazing, so I'm excited to get started and introduce him, if I may. So today our guest is former Wisconsin Governor Marty Schreiber. Also, we're going to be calling him Marty today. He's an award-winning crusader for Alzheimer caregivers and persons with dementia, reaching audiences nationwide at live events and through various forms of media. Marty uses humor and compassion as he shares lessons from his ongoing decade-plus journey as caregiver. Marty's book, My Two Elaines, Learning, Coping, and Surviving as an Alzheimer's Caregiver, is a winning acclaim from caregivers across the country. Marty, welcome to Prime Life. We'd love to hear a little bit more about you and your journey to writing your book, and of course, about your beloved Elaine.
Well, thanks, Mary, and it's really my pleasure to be with you and Laura and Joseph. So thank you for the opportunity. I am pleased to talk with you because this Alzheimer's disease is just such a devastating disease, and what the challenge is that. Well, if Alzheimer's is bad, ignorance of the disease is worse. And there are so many people that are ignorant of the disease. The medical profession, for example, who doesn't understand that there's two patients, the person who is ill and then the caregiver. And because people are ignorant of the disease, friends and neighbors and relatives don't know how to handle it when there is a diagnosis within the family or within relationships. So that whole issue about not understanding the disease is, I believe, so much of a cause for greater significant anxiety, hardship, depression, guilt, misunderstanding. And really, that's why I wrote the book. My wife, Elaine, died almost 2 years ago, but it's almost 20 years then since her diagnosis. And 20 years ago, Alzheimer's could not be cured or prevented, and today it cannot be cured or prevented. So we have to understand that we can't battle this disease head on directly. We have to determine some very realizable goals, and that realizable goal is to help our loved one live their best life possible and to help a caregiver live their best life possible. That's doable. And we help the person who is ill live their best life possible by joining their world. And so as long as I tried to keep Elaine in my world, Elaine, it didn't happen on a Thursday, it happened on a Friday. Elaine, it wasn't the Smiths, it was the Joneses. Elaine, why did you put the keys in the dishwasher? Elaine, you asked me the same question 25 times over again. I told you 6 times we're leaving at 10 o'clock. And so I wanted to make sure that I could do whatever I could to help caregivers learn, cope, and survive. And having taken this journey with Alzheimer's, what I wanted to do was to say, you caregiver and family, you're going to be taking this journey now. And I've done it. I went on this journey through the ups and the downs and the pain and the agony. Please sit down with me for a moment. And please visit with me for just a little bit and see if it's possible for us to have you give me just a few understandings of what is going to help make your life easier. So, that's sort of a long beginning to it all, but I'm very pleased to be with you, and I thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate you being here with us, and you've said some things already that have helped shift, my thought process and my mind around the matter. I've had 3 of my grandparents go through this, and watching them, I really appreciate how you have 2, right? You're talking about 2 versions of the individual, and you talked about bringing them into your world, but also you entering their world and the understanding and the process that goes with that. So if you could rewind time a little bit, and if you're speaking with somebody who's early in the journey as a caregiver, what do you think 1 or 2 important things for a caregiver to understand would be just as they're going into this relationship with their loved one?
Well, number 1, to join their world. That is so important. Elaine asked me once, how are my parents? Well, I said, they're both dead. Well, the shock on her face when she realized she didn't say goodbye to her parents, much less attend the funeral, I promised myself I'm not going to put her through that again. And so the next time she asked me, I said, your parents are doing well. Your mom likes her church work, and dad likes the sports. She said, that makes me feel so good. Well, that's therapeutic fibbing. And there's 2 points about therapeutic fibbing. One is I tried it the first year of marriage. It doesn't work so good then. But also, not everyone believes this, but if you go back to the Old Testament, when Moses went up Mount Sinai to get the tablets of stone and brought them down, the tablets are written in Arabic Hebrew. But I looked on the other side of those tablets, and in English, United States of America English, are written the words therapeutic fibbing is okay and even recommended. And so I want to have people understand that, because, we were brought up never to tell a lie, George Washington and so forth, but therapeutic fibbing is okay. One of the other things, I wrote the book, My Two Elaines, so people understand that there are really 2 people. And so I said joining their world, but one of the biggest challenges, the really great challenge, is to let the person go who once was, so you can embrace the person who now is. And yes, it's a lot easier said than done, but an extremely important thing. I was sort of fortunate because I had a chance to love 2 Elaines. I had a chance to compensate in my mind for all of the wonderful things Elaine did for me as the first Elaine. Having met when we were in high school in Latin class, and that was the girl I knew I wanted to marry, and right off the bat. And we dated and went steady and got engaged and married, and 4 children, 13 grandchildren, 7 great-grandchildren, my friend, advisor, companion. When I'd run for political office, she'd be the hardest working campaigner. When I would lose, she would never let me feel defeated. And I think that's what is Elaine's namesake. Yes, we may lose, but we can never allow ourselves to be defeated.
That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I want to focus on you for a minute. You talked about the caregiving side. Though we're living in a time now where there's a shortage of caregivers. It's a hard job. Could you talk to us a little bit about how you made the transition from public service and your professional career into becoming a full-time caregiver?
And we'll get that answer after a brief word from our commercial sponsors.
NASA is always working harder to be your carrier of choice. We offer insurance products that can help you meet your retirement goals, such as protecting your savings, securing lifetime income, or paying for healthcare costs. We're dedicated to providing best-in-class service and are keeping things simple, and we'll have your back. We have around 400,000 policyholders and contract holders and have been doing this for a long time, 170 years, but we remain humble enough to always try to improve. For more information, visit nfg.com. Nassau Insurance products are issued by Nassau Life and Annuity Company of Hartford, Connecticut, Nassau Life Insurance Company, East Greenbush, New York, or Nassau Life Insurance Company of Kansas Overland Park, Kansas. Subsidiaries of Nassau Financial Group. Products are not available in all areas. Policyholder counts are for all Nassau companies as of September 30th, 2022, and are subject to change.
Coverite is the first digital concierge health insurance platform focused on Medicare. Their mission is to make Medicare more transparent and accessible for America's 60 million Medicare beneficiaries. By simplifying a traditionally confusing and complex decision, Coverite delivers a simple, seamless, and hassle-free plan selection and enrollment experience. Try the Coverite platform and see for yourself why they've been referred to as the TurboTax for Medicare. Visit coverite.com/podcast to learn more.
Well, I tell you, I don't think there was a roadmap on how I got into being a caregiver. It's sort of like one step at a time. You get the diagnosis from the doctor, and when I say ignorance of the disease, when Elaine was first diagnosed, the doctor said there's 4 things you should do: Numenda and Aricept, which are 2 drugs. I don't know if they work, but they're supposed to delay. Okay, so we did that, and then socialization. Yeah, so we did that. And then also going for a walk. That's the best exercise for the brain. And also a glass of red wine every evening. Well, Elaine got 4 weeks ahead with the glass of red wine and 3 weeks behind with the walking. But the point of the matter is, and it's my fault as well, nobody prepared me for what was going to be ahead. No one prepared me for the challenge, and not making me aware of how the critical issue of getting support, of the critical issue of maybe going into counseling, the critical issue of how you're going to feel so much guilt because no matter what you do, because the disease is regressive, no matter what you do, it's not going to be helpful. So, and that's why I wrote the book, Joseph, is because there was no roadmap. There was no guide to follow about what is going to happen when the diagnosis first occurs. Elaine was still pretty well with it. She would get lost driving to and from places. She had been going to and from for 10 years. She was a great cook and sometimes would mess up the recipe so bad she would cry. But many times she was lucid and with it all. And then, of course, that memory began to fade, and you just about think you are able to deal with everything the way it is, and the disease creates a regressive reaction in your loved one, and now you've got something more to deal with, whether it's taking care of in individual physical bodily needs or what it might be. But because there is no roadmap, that's another reason I wrote the book. And it's not going to be a minute-by-minute accounting, but I attempted to make sure that caregivers know that it's a sign of courage and it's a sign of not giving up to ask for help. And I try and help male caregivers understand this particularly, and that is, hypothetically, if we're surrounded by an enemy and it's hopeless, and you just say, well, we're going to just keep on sitting here. We're surrounded by an enemy. It's hopeless. Well, no, we go for help. A sign of going for help is showing that you're not giving up. And so we male caregivers have too strong of an ego. And here is what that ego does. It harms the person we love. So when Elaine was supposed to go into assisted living, I'm going to counseling. And I said, I just cannot see putting Elaine into the nursing home. I just can't see that. And the counselor said, well, you're not putting Elaine anyplace. What you are doing is giving her an opportunity to be who she is now. Can Marty Schreiber's 24/7 nursing home care take care of? No way. There was no way that I could take care of Elaine. I was losing out on sleep because I had to sleep by the door at night for fear she would go out. I wasn't eating right. I got involved in the caregiver's poison, the beef eater's martini, just maybe 1, 2, 3, or 4 after, knowing I got through the day, and all of that stuff was miserable. But here is what I realized. I didn't want Elaine to go into assisted living memory care because I was the one who was going to fight this disease. I was not thinking of what is best for Elaine. I was thinking about my own personal ego. If as I talk to male caregivers, I want to particularly point out that we cannot let our ego get in the way of helping our loved one live their best life possible. And again, that should be our goal, helping our loved one live their best life possible.
That makes total sense, Marty, and that's we appreciate you making that point, because I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that maybe have thought about it, but again, taking that step to ask for help is never easy. I want to talk about something a little bit lighter. In your book, you write about humor and how, finding the humor when caregiving can be so frustrating, relentless, and, all of the things that you shared. Can you talk a little bit about how you've done that, how you did that, and what you can offer to others who are really grappling with that?
Yes, well, it is going to be hard to find humor in all of this, because we get so uptight. And again, if our goal can be to help our loved one live their best life possible, then I think humor has a place, and it's going to fit in, and it's going to be very helpful. For example, Elaine and I were having lunch one day in the assisted living cafeteria, and she started to cry. Well, I said, "Why are you crying?" Well, she says, "I'm beginning to love you more than my husband." Huh. Well, I didn't ask her what's wrong with your turkey husband. I didn't do that. But it proved to me that first of all, that's great. But what it proved to me is that it was not necessary for her to know my name in order for our hearts to touch. And so when you take a look at that humor, there's many things that you're going to find together in your conversations or in what you do, and just be open to the fact that life is going on, and we've got to relax. We can become so tense. And when you have a computer issue and you have to get it done on time, you become tense, and you forget to think about an expansive kind of situation, and a relaxed kind of situation. So it's being relaxed, and it's getting away from being tense. It's having a realizable goal in mind that's going to help you identify and see areas of humor and moments of joy. Now, humor is one thing, but moments of joy is quite another. So sometimes when I visit Elaine, we would just simply sit by the window and look out at the trees. And I can particularly remember one fall day, and gosh, the leaves were pretty and the leaves were falling. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, if Elaine wouldn't be sick, we could be sitting in the Swiss Alps, looking at the views and so forth. And then I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, if I would be sitting in the Swiss Alps looking at things, what would I be doing? Well, I would be wanting to sit next to Elaine. I'd want to be holding her hand. I'd want to be telling her I love her. I wanted her to be smiling. And that's a moment of joy. And so, yes, there's the humor, which are the yucks, but then there's also the understanding of the moment of joy, where we know that we're connecting with our loved one. There's the great poet just said, I may not remember what you said, but I will always remember how you made me feel. And so the holding of the hand, or the singing of the song, or giving of a hug, or a smile, or just being together, all of those kinds of things are moments of joy that, again, we get to our realizable goal in helping our loved one live their best life possible.
I love the examples that you provided. And for someone who's thinking and they're nodding their head and they're listening and they're saying, yes, I agree. What a great point. Do you have any tips for someone going through this journey, or maybe another journey, where they want to find humor, they want to find peace, they want to find joy? Is there anything that you found helpful to, I'll say, center yourself back to reality? So you use the Alps, for example, and then you were able to center yourself?
Yes, a couple of things. First of all, I very strongly recommend counseling if it's possible. The Alzheimer's Association, alz.org, has 24/7 helpline that could help direct for counseling, but also to one of the things that was really helpful was when my neighbors or when my friends simply acknowledged an understanding of what I was going through, and that helped give me balance, because you feel terribly uptight, you feel terribly worried, you feel depressed, and you're grieving on top of all of this, and so how do you get to the center core, and how do you stabilize yourself? I think to understand that you can't do it alone. I just a short time ago, I fell and I broke a kneecap, and I had to walk with a cane. And what does a cane do? Well, it gives you stability, it gives you balance, it helps you move forward, it takes away pain, it gives you security. And so friends of caregivers and family of caregivers can be a cane to the person who is the caregiver. That's what creates that stability, that core. And then again, I want to get to the point that if our goal is to beat the disease, that's going to create I think a great instability. If our goal is going to be helping our loved one live our best life possible, that gives us a realizable kind of a journey, something that we know that we can accomplish. And even though our loved one's memory is fading every day and even maybe disappears to the point, we have the comfort of knowing we did what we thought was best and helpful to our loved one. And gosh, what a wonderful stability, a stabilizing force that might be. I want to mention one other point on stabilizing and on the basic of the core, and that is to realize directly head on what we're up against as caregivers. I mentioned depression, our loved one is leaving us, and the terrible anxiety, how am I going to handle this, and so forth, and then the fact that our loved one is living, a different kind of a world. But one other factor which caregivers, I don't think we handle it well enough. I had a friend who died of a heart attack, and it was a massive, massive heart attack, and in a snap of a finger, he's gone. Well, there was a funeral, and people came to express their sympathy and gave their condolences, and there was a funeral, and there was closure. Caregivers don't get closure. Caregivers see their loved one die just a little bit every day, and never realize that we are in the process of grieving. So again, what is the core? How do we get through all of this? I think by understanding as brutally frank as we have to be with ourselves, but being brutally frank about the kind of emotional challenges we have, and then because we have identified them, we're in a better position to deal with them. And I think that can make a big difference. I think it can make a big difference.
So much to absorb. The book, as you mentioned earlier, is my Two Elaines. I want to maybe take us to a happier spot for a few minutes and talk about Elaine 1 and tell us a little bit more about the happier days before the disease.
Now an ad from one of our sponsors. Remember when you could trust the news? Well, then check out Walter. Walter is the free, no-nonsense newsletter for grown-ups that comes to your inbox 3 times a week. From current trends, aging in place, travel, retirement, and everything in between, including a dash of pop culture trivia and throwbacks, Walter is a great way to start your mornings and to stay informed. Oh, and did we mention that it's free? Check us out at thisiswalter.com. Get smart. Get Walter.
Well, gosh, I want you to know that, I met her a freshman in high school. I have a grandson, the youngest of the 13, who is now 14 years of age. And I think, holy cow, that was me. I can't believe that. And I mean, not that we ran off and got married when we were 14. We got married when we were like 21 or 22. And of course, but in that time, that was the vogue, going back into the 60s. If you weren't married by the time you were 23, you're either an old maid or a, wanton bachelor. But anyway, so she put me through law school. Working and then with the campaigns, we would make a 72 county tour. That's how many counties we had in Wisconsin during the campaign. And kids were like 4 and 6. And then we also were expecting then the third. I'll tell you, she was, as we did the county tour, we had a station wagon that they called them at the time. And, Elaine would always keep those youngsters prim and proper and, just out of textbook and so forth. And made the kids' clothes. We didn't have much money, and she made a lot of the girls' dresses. And if there's any crazy idea I wanted it, for example, there was the period. I love sailing, and my first sailboat was a rowboat and a big 2x4, 12, 14 feet high. And Elaine went to the surplus store and got old parachutes from the Second World War. Now that was a while back, so that's realizable. But she turned the parachutes into a sail. And so every kind of activity that I would want to be involved in, she was there with me. And it was a very special kind of thing. We used to love sailing a lot and did the Great Lakes. And we even did what they call the Great Loop, which is Lake Michigan down through the Illinois waterway, down the Mississippi, down around the Florida Keys, then back up again into the Hudson River, and then back home again. But gosh, I was fortunate. I just was so fortunate that one can find a partner in life and have it continue to be a partner. So that's why, Joseph, I feel that the time with Elaine when she was ill was such an important time for me, so that I could in some way acknowledge and return all of the great things and great happiness that she gave me. And so she, as I said, the therapeutic fibbing the first year of marriage was not. I learned a good lesson.
So, Marty, Elaine sounded like she was an amazing woman, and I love how you were bubbling up, talking about how she helped you with your campaigns, how she helped, take care of the kids, and all the wonderful things that she did. She's very resourceful, quite a resourceful woman. And so, how could you kind of encourage others to kind of go down memory lane in the way that you did when they're caring for an individual, or even after, going through, their passing and whatnot, because it sounds like that could be somewhat therapeutic. And you did talk about, the importance of therapy and whatnot. So I would just love to hear you kind of talk a little bit about that.
The Abraham Lincoln that basically said, as I understand it, he says a person is as happy as they choose to be. And as one goes through a grieving process, whether it's Alzheimer's or cancer or what it might be, as we go through that, we have a choice. We have a choice to think of the good things and the bad things. Sometimes I get to, moping around and thinking, oh, this is bad and that is bad. And I have to say, wait a minute, and this is sort of stupid. We can think of things that are bad, or I can think of things that are good. What's going to make me happier? And it's thinking about things that make me feel good. And so instead of counting up my woes, I decide that I'm going to count up all the good things that have happened. And there is no magic formula for that other than for my friends who are caregivers and my friends who are watching this, my new friends. I would just say, it's tough. I understand that. But we still have options. It's not like we are precluded of doing any kind of thinking. We are not brainwashed. We are not stricken with uncurable brain disease that we can't be ourselves. We still can, and in understanding that, to move forward. And I'll tell you, I sit here and I think of all of the different people I've met, and in the process of my giving of talks, and people who have written me about how the book has helped them, and so on. And I would say, my dear friends, it's a very difficult challenge. I know it is, but we can look at the good side of things. We can have those great memories. And what else do we have? We that's what we have, the great memories, and thank God for that.
It's so true. So, Marty, the question we have for you is really, what is your why, right? You've accomplished so much, both in your personal and professional lives. You've provided this insight. You've written this book, and you're helping people go through their journeys and their seasons. So we've touched on pieces of it, but what other elements of your why are there? Why do you wake up every single morning and do the work that you do?
Well, in Milwaukee, where I live, of course, there's a ice cream, a frozen custard stand called Cops. And one of my very favorite things is a turtle hot fudge sundae with pecans and extra cream. And that is really good. So if you say, Marty, thank you for having an extra frozen custard, turtle sundae with pecans and extra cream, you cannot thank me for that, because it's something that I wanted to do. If I lose 10 pounds, then you can say, Marty, good going. And so when the why of all of this, I think the why of it comes from realizing the pain that one can go through additionally if one doesn't understand this disease. And then knowing that it is possible that you can help someone by sharing, help someone by hopefully having them have a better understanding of this disease. And in a way, it's sort of like being caught in a stream in which the stream carries you. And, if it wouldn't have been for sometimes getting involved with too much alcohol, I wouldn't have met someone who helped guide me a little bit longer. If it wouldn't have been for the Alzheimer's Association, it maybe wouldn't have been that I could have gotten the counseling and then an understanding of what helping someone can make a difference in, how it can make a difference in their lives. And so it's something I want to do, and I don't deserve credit for doing it, because I feel compelled. And besides, what else can an 84-year-old person do with the time other than talk with three wonderful people? So,
well, we thank you for that. And Mary and Joseph, as we get to the top of our time and wrap up here, Joseph, do you have any other questions or final thoughts you'd like to share?
Thank you, Marty. You have beautiful words. I don't have any more questions. The story of your life with your wife, the book, it says it all. So thank you for sharing it and doing all you've done.
Well, thank you very much. Let me mention one other point, and this is and I say this for our viewers or our audience. Many times I get the question, what is the difference between Alzheimer's disease and dementia? And it's really important that people understand that dementia, it means that the mind is not working right. And it's like an umbrella, like cancer. Well, what kind of cancers? You can get breast cancer, you can get lung cancer, you can get all kinds of different cancers. Dementia means the brain is not working right. Well, why not? Well, it could be because of a mix-up in medications. It could be because of depression. It could be because of Alzheimer's or so on. So I encourage everyone to make sure that you get a proper diagnosis on this before you launch an effort into something which you need not have to worry about and get involved in. So, but I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Very welcome. And Mary, any final thoughts or questions?
I mean, I echo what Joseph said, and I would also just add that it's truly a blessing and amazing to hear your story and to learn about Elaine. And, it's always nice to meet wonderful people. And we appreciate you, as Laura said earlier, doing the work that you're doing because you are helping so many people. And just one thing that you may say can help just one person. And that is, that's just amazing. And so thank you for joining us today. Marty, if someone wants to get a hold of you or wants to order a book, what's the best way? And we will put all of your information in the show notes.
We have a website, my2elaines.com, and that's all one word, my2elaines.com. That would be probably one of the best ways, but the book could be ordered through our website. We'll send it out, or if Barnes and Noble and so forth, wherever books are sold. This is the really the second. It's a great addition. You should know that there are roughly 60,000 of these books in print, 60,000, and only 59,900 left in my garage. But we started out with a self-published book, and then what happened was with the self-published book, the Harper people decided that it was worthwhile enough to go nationwide with it. So Harper picked up the book, and now it's the same book, same message as the other one, except there's some additional words and discussions in here between myself and a neuropsychologist to help give meaning medically to what I talked about through experience. And so I felt it was important to give that kind of medical background. So, but I'm grateful again for the opportunity. My gosh, thank you.
And we're grateful to have you. And thanks again to our listeners for tuning in today. And we will be back next week with another episode of the Prime Life Podcast. Thank you.
Remember to subscribe to the Prime Life Podcast anywhere you find podcasts. You can find all of our episodes, contact information, and more on our website, primelifepodcast.com. Stay connected with us. Follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.